8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news, edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Indrani Senanayaka. The headlines. The Foreign Minister says the Foreign Debt Management and Restructuring Programme has reached the final stage. More than 50 representatives of the Podujana Peramuna and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party have obtained the membership of the UNP. The IMF has agreed to provide $700 million to cover the budget deficit. A new draft bill will be prepared by obtaining views and proposals from the fisheries sector. The Public Service Commission approves a new service constitution for Grama Niladhari officers. World News: US pledges major aid package for Ukraine energy sector. Foreign Minister Ali Sabri says the Foreign Debt Management and Restructuring Programme has reached the final stage. It is expected to sign an MOU of debt management with foreign countries. The discussion held with the debt creditors is more positive than expected. He made these remarks at a media briefing in Colombo yesterday. The minister also stated that he will engage in a tour of Japan next month with an invitation from the Foreign Minister of Japan. More than 50 representatives of the Podujana Peramuna and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party have obtained the membership of the UNP in the Polonnaruwa district. The membership was handed over by its chairman, Vajira Abewardena, at the Srikota UNP headquarters. He also said that the president always states that all parties should get together to build the country. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says that whatever the government's plans are when preparing the next budget proposal, they should act according to the agreements reached with the IMF. It has been stated that the country needs $5,018 million to cover the gap of the external resources that will be created next year. The IMF has agreed to provide $700 million to cover the budget deficit. It is hoped that $400 million will be provided by the World Bank, and the Asian Development Bank will provide $300 million. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and we continue with local news. Minister Douglas Devananda says that a new draft bill will be prepared by obtaining views and proposals from the fisheries sector. It will be presented to Parliament soon. The relevant charter in the fisheries sector is to be prepared. Attention has been focused on providing a fuel subsidy to them. Special attention will also be provided on aquaculture, freshwater fishing. Measures have been taken to look into the problems faced by the fisher community in 15 districts. He stated that he will support the president at the forthcoming presidential election. A program named Jayagamu Sri Lanka, organised by the Ministry of Labour and Foreign Employment, was conducted in the Puttalam district today. Minister Manusha Nanayakara said that the national anthem should be sung in the Tamil language in predominant Tamil-speaking areas. State Minister of Home Affairs Ashoka Priyantha announced that the Grama Niladhari Service Constitution has been approved by the Public Service Commission following the approval of the Cabinet of Ministers. He also mentioned that the new constitution allows for necessary amendments. State Minister Ashoka Priyantha disclosed these details recently during a press briefing held titled Collective Path to a Stable Country at the Presidential Media Centre. The government has recently undertaken several significant projects, such as the Urumaya and the Aswasuma projects. Additionally, many development projects that were halted last season have now resumed. Redevelopment efforts in both villages and towns are also underway through decentralized allocations. And that ends the local segment of news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
The External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, will arrive in Sri Lanka on an official visit on the 20th of June, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said. During a recent meeting with President Ranil Wickremesinghe in India, Dr. Jaishankar addressed the swift resumption of development projects initiated in Sri Lanka with Indian investments, which have been halted midway. He expressed his intent to visit Sri Lanka in the near future to oversee the progress of these activities. Minister Jaishankar said that he would visit Sri Lanka soon to coordinate the Prime Minister's visit and expedite the commencement of development projects funded by Indian investments.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
We now take a look at Watchlight. The University Grants Commission accepts applications for admission of students who have obtained the minimum requirements for the university admission at the GCE Advanced Level Examination held for 2023. Candidates are informed that it is compulsory to apply for university admission online. UGC Chairman, Senior Professor Sampath Amaratunga said that the UGC is calling for only online applications for university admission of the academic year 2023-24 until the 5th of July.
Coming up, World News.
First to the headlines. US pledges major aid package for Ukraine energy sector. Israeli troops catapult fireball into Lebanon using weapon rarely used since the 16th century. UN says aid convoy denied entry to northern Gaza. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has pledged a $1.5 billion package of aid to Ukraine, mostly for the country's energy sector. The funding, announced at a Ukraine Peace Summit in Switzerland, will help repair infrastructure damaged by Russian bombardments. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that half of the country's power-producing capacity has been destroyed in the war. He has called on Western countries to provide more aid defenses to protect both energy infrastructure and urban population centers, and some have responded. Russian attacks on the power grid have forced energy companies to institute rolling blackouts. Israeli troops have used a medieval-style catapult to toss fireballs across the border into Lebanon as fighting ramps up between Israel and Iranian-backed Islamist group Hezbollah. The trebuchet, a rotating arm with a sling attached to launch a projectile, has rarely been used since the 16th century. The Israeli Defense Forces said the catapult was a local initiative and had not come into widespread use, Israeli public broadcaster and CNN affiliate CAN reported. The UN Children's Agency UNICEF has told the BBC a convoy carrying aid was denied entry to northern Gaza despite having all the necessary documents, adding that this is a common occurrence. UNICEF spokesman James Elder, who was on a lorry in the convoy, also said that while waiting at a checkpoint, he witnessed the fatal shooting of 2 Gazan fishermen. In their response, the Israeli Defense Forces said documentation of the UNICEF vehicle in the convoy was not filled out correctly and accused Mr. Elder of presenting a partial picture. To end this bulletin of world news, the headlines again. U.S. pledges major aid package for Ukraine energy sector. Israeli troops catapult fireball into Lebanon using weapon rarely used since the 16th century. UN says aid convoy denied entry to northern Gaza. And that ends this bulletin of world news.
Development news.
The Agri-Modernization Program initiated by the Ministry of Agriculture is being implemented in the Hambantota district successfully. The program will be initiated in the Suryavava and Angunakola Palasa Divisional Secretariat divisions. 300 million rupees has been allocated for the project, and that was development news.
Moving on with sports news.
The Sri Lankan women's cricket team won the first ODI against the visiting West Indies women's team. Sri Lankan women won the toss and decided to field. Batting first, the West Indies were all out for 195 at the end of 47.1 overs. In reply, Sri Lankan women scored 198 runs for 4 wickets in 34.1 overs, and that was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The largest industrial exhibition, Industry Expo, will be held on the 19th of this month at the BMICH. It will be conducted until the 23rd. The exhibition will begin at 9 a.m. and go on until 9 p.m. This has been organized by the Ministry of Industry and the Industrial Development Board and came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හීන හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
A look at economic news. Treasury bills valued at 230 million rupees will be issued expiring in 91, 182 and 364 days. These bills can be purchased from primary dealers and the licensed commercial banks. The auction will be conducted on Wednesday. That was economic news.
Weather report.
And finally, we take a look at the weather report. Several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. Strong winds of about 40 to 50 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills, the northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee, Hambantota and Moraragara districts. To end tonight's news broadcast, we take a look at the headlines again. The Foreign Minister says the Foreign Debt Management and Restructuring Programme has reached the final stage. More than 50 representatives of the Podujana Peramuna and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party have obtained the membership of the UNP. The IMF has agreed to provide $700 million to cover the budget deficit. A new draft bill will be prepared by obtaining views and proposals from the fisheries sector. The Public Service Commission approves the new service constitution for Grama Niladhari officers. In foreign news, US pledges major aid package for Ukraine energy sector. That ends tonight's news broadcast. The time reads 2 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is Radio Sri Lanka.